Hi everybody, Cheryl coming to you from the Ladies Garden and Home. I'm going to take you around today and show you what I've been up to in the month of April. So I hope you join me. The month of April has been a little strange for me in the garden this year. We've had just kind of odd weather. Of course, the days that it's bright and beautiful, I'm not around to work in the garden. But we've had rain, we've had winds, and if you follow my channel, you know I am a fair weather gardener. So as soon as it starts raining, I'm out of here. Anyway, I wanted to take you and show you what I've been up to this month, running kind of in between the raindrops and stuff. So the first thing really to get me started was to order my compost. Now this isn't the brand that I normally use. This is Black Cow. I've heard good things about it, but it was so much cheaper than the regular compost and manure I normally buy. So I bought about a dozen bags and I had my son just place them where I'm going to need them. But this is the bed here that is full of celery. And if you remember last summer and fall, whenever the celery went to seed and started dropping its seeds, I would just take them and I would scatter them. And the reason there's a big hole in the middle is because the older 2-year-old celery needed to be pulled. And that's where I sowed some, and actually quite a bit, of carrots. And these were saved from last year's carrots. Again, after it flowered, I saved the seeds. And I kind of heavily sowed them, not knowing how it would take, because, you know, it's a little bit of a risk when you save your own seeds. But I've got a lot coming up now, so that's going to be a nice patch of carrots in the middle. And then on the edges here are carrots that overwintered. And they honestly didn't do much last year. But now they decided to make a comeback, so that's nice. And then I've got like a random leek here. Over here is my Mary's Rose garden. And as you can see, the rabbits have been eating the tulip leaves. But I have a few flowers that made it. Some tulips here. And the roses have made a comeback. I lost 2 roses over the winter. It was a very, very cold winter. But the other ones came back fine without any covering over them at all. And then here is what my little bulb garden is doing. Some of the daffodils are on their way out and some of them are just coming up. And I got some tulips here. But this is annoying. I watched the squirrels do this. They came in and they ate the flower buds out of all of my hyacinth. So this is the only hyacinth flower I got. Anyway, the lavender came through the winter okay, as they normally do. But I'm not going to show you over here because I haven't done anything there yet. I haven't cleaned it up, as you can see. So let's move on. So about 3 to 4 weeks ago, I planted these potatoes. And last year I had tried to grow some squash in here. And it didn't really work, but now you can see I have some squash seedlings starting to come up, just kind of volunteering themselves. But these are potatoes, I chitted them on the countertop by the sun for about 2 months, and they got nice little sprouts on them before I planted them. And these were just organic potatoes from the grocery store, a red, yellow, and like a russet potato. The blueberry bushes here have quite a lot of flowers, so I'm hoping to get a nice crop of blueberries this year that are not eaten by the birds. That would be nice. And my butterfly bush made it through the winter. I cut it down and you can see it's starting to sprout up again amongst the weeds. Here's where I'm concentrating most of my spring garden. These are my brassicas in these grow bags. I have broccoli, cauliflower, green sprouting broccoli, broccoli rabe, and On this side, on the other side now, I have Waltham, broccoli, and a couple of more cauliflowers. These grow bags drive me crazy. You see that? It doesn't even water it all the way when it flops over like that. I don't know. I'm not crazy about the grow bags, but they're there, and they were filled with soil. And here is, this is a green sprouting broccoli, I believe. Could be a Brussels sprout. I'm really not sure. I couldn't find the tag. And then this is a purple sprouting broccoli. And these two made it through the winter. They were the only brassicas that made it through the winter this year. And over here, underneath these plastic cloches that I got from the dollar store, are my Copenhagen cabbages. And I planted out 7 of them, and they've really grown quite a bit in the short amount of time they've been in here. I think I only planted them 2 weeks ago, and they were pretty tiny seedlings. And then if you see all the weeds, this is where I had the calendula last year that really just overtook the bed. And I think that I'm going to be constantly pulling baby calendulas all spring. Just a random onion I found growing, so I just pulled it. And here are the leeks that I started, I think, back in the spring or summer, and I planted them out in the fall, and they were tiny, tiny, tiny. And now, in the month of April, they really just started putting on a lot of new growth, which is great. Over here is where I'm going to put the grow bags of the fava beans. And then in here, which I just planted yesterday, I wanted to get them in before the rain, are my bok choy. And I had started these inside back in February. And this is the size they were when I planted. Well, they look like they grew in one day. Well, they sure do like rain. Anyway, what I did with these beds is they were really messy. I didn't really do anything in the fall, and what I did was I ripped all of the branches out. This is where I put my my wall of beans, and I got rid of all of that. I burned it. It was great in the fire pit, and then I put down a layer of the potash, and then I put down a layer of compost. And that's all I did to prep the bed. And in a week or two, I'm just going to come in here and I'm just going to plant a whole bunch of green beans. I'm just going to direct sow them. And the mint is coming back. I'm going to actually dig some up and donate them to our garden club's May market. And this is spearmint, so I'm just going to try to thin it out a little bit because, as you know, mint loves to grow everywhere, and I try to keep it contained to this little box. And here are the flowers that I winter sowed using the plastic bag method, which I really liked because it was so no fuss. And here I've got some milkweed. I'm not going to open them up. I was told not to. We have some bachelor buttons, which is looking like it's really ready to plant. We have some poppies. We have cosmos, zinnias, and marigolds. So that was a very nice experiment, and I'm very happy. And when I plant those out, I will take you with me for that. I planted up the green stalk about a month ago. I made that video about it and showed you how I kind of treated the soil in it. And then I went back a couple of days later and I sowed some lettuce seeds directly, which are starting to sprout now. Anyway, in here is escarole, a bunch of different types of lettuces, Italianacea, red oak leaf, mesclun, and black-seeded Simpson, some arugula that I seeded very heavily because I only like it small, And I went in and put Swiss chard in here this week, and if you can see here, I got some volunteer dill coming up, which is cute. And this has been nice. Oh, and I have some sage here too that overwintered. It's been nice because I have had about 3 nights worth of salad already. I like them with the young tender leaves, and it's fun. We're harvesting already, which is great. And here on the deck containers, I also planted up some more of the lettuces, and I also have in here some escarole and some bok choy. You can see I've picked on it. And the spinach, which is still very tiny. Spinach takes so long for me. I don't know why, but it just does. Anyway, the oregano is starting to come back. I tried cleaning it up. It gets very, like, I was going to say sticky, but it does. It gets all of these sticks. And I try to clear them out before the new growth comes on for the year. It's parsley that I overwintered. They were tiny, tiny seedlings when I put them in the mini greenhouse. And so that's coming along. I'm going to plant some cilantro in that container as well. And then here are the chives, the thyme, and the rosemary. Chives are starting to put on flower buds. Very cute. And the lemon balm I was worried about not coming back, but it did. And not only that, it's spreading. So it dropped some of its own seeds in here. And then we've got some dill coming up. And this year what I did with the container, since it had been, would have been the 5th year with the same soil in it, and it had gotten very compacted because of roots and things in the years past. I just dumped all of the soil out into a bin, and then I mixed it with some perlite, some vermiculite, some coconut coir, and some compost, and then I put it back in. So now the soil is nice and light and fluffy again. Here are the fava beans and peas that I started up here on the deck because the rabbits don't come up here. And they're getting to the point where I don't have to worry about the rabbits being able to reach the tops of them. Because what's happened before is if I've just direct sowed them, as soon as they start sprouting, the rabbits come in and eat the tops off of them, and then it weakens them and then they don't grow. So this worked for me last year, and although I'd never done fava beans this way, but that seems to be working as well. And before I sowed these seeds, I soaked them in water, and then I put them in a paper towel inside a plastic bag for a few days, and I waited for them just to start sprouting just a little bit before I went ahead and I planted them. And I've planted them, as you can see, very thickly, but that's what I do. And over here is just a fig named Sue. I'm hardening it off. It was inside the house, nice and warm all winter, and actually it really started leafing out, I would say, the end of January. And as you can see, I have a bunch of little figs. And the figs it's growing on the new growth, which tells me that next year I'm going to prune it back even further because it grows very, very fast, and that's where the figs seem to grow. And over here are some peas. And I actually sowed these earlier than I did those over there. And I think what really sped the other ones up so much was that process that I told you about, moistening the seeds and letting them sprout first. I think it gave them like a good 2 weeks extra worth of growth. That's calendula that I transplanted from that bed I showed you where the cabbage is. And I'm going to move it to my medicinal flower bed. But I wasn't in the mood to do all of the soil amending that day, so I'm just letting them grow on a little bit, and then I'll transplant them when I'm ready. Look how pretty the strawberries are coming in. I have different color strawberries flowers, which I don't know why. But also mixed in here is a little bit of wild chamomile that just decided to grow here. I'm going to move a lot of it over to the medicinal flower bed. Might keep some of it because it doesn't seem to bother the strawberries that much, but I don't want it overtaking this. I really want the strawberries to be healthy. And then over here I'm going to put a flower. I'm going to put a geranium there. I do that traditionally every year. So last spring, when I started some onions from seed, the seed tray fell and just scattered everywhere. And I scooped some up and I stuck them in this pot. And they didn't really do anything at all. And now they decided to grow. And because they were just stuck in with no, spacing, I'm just using this as green onions this year. And as you can see, it's about to flower. And then also in here are some spinaches that I put in last fall. So that overwintered as well with no covering. Moving over to the greenhouse, my little mini greenhouse, which I love. I've been keeping it unzippered and just letting the breeze get through there to help harden them off with the wind. But in here I have feverfew, a little tiny nasturtium, a couple of beets, different varieties. I have some fennel, some onions. The fennel and the onions are ready to get planted soon. I have some spinach, some comfrey, and a little bit more spinach back there. I'm just waiting for the rest of them to germinate. In these jugs and containers are flowers that I winter sowed this year. So let's take a quick peek inside. These are the hollyhocks. Yeah, they're growing. Let's look at the sweet peas. There we go. And then this is alyssum. And they'll be ready to plant out soon. Actually, they're probably ready now. So that's on my list of very soon to do. This looks rather jungly. It is actually rather jungly. Here are the tomatoes. I took them out of their little starter trays and potted them up into these 3-inch pots. Some are growing bigger than others, and there's different varieties. And this is eggplant, by the way. This is Black Beauty eggplant. And then the peppers I up-potted as well. And some of them, most of them actually, I planted 2 per pot because peppers like growing up together. They don't mind being closely packed in, and you get double the amount of peppers. More tomatoes, many more than I'll be able to accommodate in my garden. Definitely running out of room. Some more tomatoes, but I'm going to share them with some friends and family. And up here is my crazy indoor tomato plant. It was a tiny seedling that just self-germinated inside a pot that I had brought in with basil. And now look at it. It's starting, it's blooming. I believe based on the look of the flowers that these are the sweet pea currant tomatoes, which are those tiny, tiny ones that I like. Anyway, it's growing and growing and growing. I think I'm going to keep it in a pot on the patio. But you know, it's supposed to be a patio tomato, and look at how huge it got. Here's the citronella plant. That grew quite a bit over the winter. And I've been hardening this one off too, ready to put it out as soon as it's ready. And here are my sweet potato slips. They're growing quite rapidly every day. It's interesting though, they're growing at different rates, and I did it all at the same time, so it might have to do with where they're placed in the sun. But soon, actually this one's probably ready to be cut and put in its own jar and have the actual sprout start rooting. That's what they told me to do, but it's got good root systems going on. So, and this was just organic sweet potatoes from the supermarket. The creeping Jenny overwintered nicely, and so I actually transplanted it from another pot into this basket with the pansies that I sowed back in February. They're still so tiny. I hope I'm going to get flowers before it gets too hot. As a point of reference, I live in southern Connecticut. I'm in zone 7B, which really only tells you the lowest temperature it gets down to in the winter, and actually we surpassed that. We got lower this year because it was so cold. And our last frost date is around April 15th, although I believe we've already passed it, and it was towards the beginning of April. So, you know, here's the thing. They tell you to wait until your last frost before you plant out a lot of things. Now, the things that I have planted already could handle a frost fine. I don't like planting my real warm, loving crops until the temperatures at night are at least about 50 degrees. And actually, that's when I take my houseplants in the fall, too, when it starts to drop below 50 degrees at night. Because if it's at 50 degrees at night and it's a tropical, heat-loving plant, it'll be fine, and it might last without a frost, but it hinders, if it's too cool, their growth. So I like waiting a little bit longer. So around here, the time that everybody says is Mother's Day weekend, which is May 11th this year. So I'm going to wait until then. But, you know, I got plenty of other things to do. I still have, you know, lots to plant and sow and clean up. I want to apologize for not having a video in a while. I didn't realize it was that long, but you know, like I said, I was just really kind of running out here when I had a chance between the weather and work and everything, and getting in what I could. But anyway, I'll take you along next time I'm planting. How about that? I hope you stay to the end of this video and watch the little clip I'm giving you of Lady, who is my puppy. Not a puppy, she was 17, that passed back in January, as a tribute to her, and she's what this channel was named after, so I hope you enjoy it. I want to thank you for joining me in the garden today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like, and I hope you subscribe and join our growing community, and share this where you can. And from the Ladies Garden and Home, enjoy your gardening journey. Bye! I think I'm going to have Layla the cat say goodbye at the end of the videos now. Say goodbye, Layla. 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 Layla says goodbye. That's my good girl.